Welcome back to another episode of the Community Collective. I am Johnny B. Good, the flip-flop agent, and I know you haven't heard my voice in a while. Mr. Travis Howell has been busy conducting lots of good interviews as of late. I've been in the studio doing the production, the editing, getting these things released in a timely fashion. But I am back today. I think my partner in crime, Travis, is basking in the glow of his Davison Township Treasurer win from this past week. So I'm going to let him have the day off today and decided to go rogue and invite one of my fellow board members with the Davison Area Chamber of Commerce, Kyle Robinson. Kyle, what's happening, man?
Oh, not a lot. Just busy with everything.
Busy with everything. I hear that.
Yeah, I got busy with business, busy with basketball, and then the full-time job of being a dad of 4 kids, which you can relate with. So.
I can. Well, and I was thinking about that earlier. You took the hard route. You decided to have 4 pregnancies. I'm a master of efficiency, so I went with 3 pregnancies. That seemed to work well for us.
I think if I would have had twins to begin with, I probably wouldn't have had any more kids afterwards. So I don't know if mine was easier. Maybe harder for my wife. But,
that's valid. That's valid. So I ended up with boys that are 16 months apart, and then the girls came. We weren't even trying for number 3, and we got popped with 3 and 4. So
well, it's better than I got a buddy who had one child, was set with one child. He got his boy. He was done. His wife talked him into having another one, and then they got pregnant with triplets. And then the last ultrasound before delivery, they said, "Oh yeah, there's another one."
Yes.
So he had quads.
Yep.
And I think you're familiar with who I'm talking about.
I absolutely am. I'll see them on Tuesday night for my family movie night.
There you
absolutely.
go.
I think they're half of my attendees.
Yeah, probably.
Well, perfect. Well, we're going to have a quick chat today, talk about some business and then some extracurriculars you have going on with your daughter and some other kids in the community that I'm excited about as well.
Yep.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect. You've built your reputation on helping clients, and we're kind of in a similar business in regards to where it's very customer centric, right? Mm-hmm. And in your business specifically, they're trying to navigate their financial present and their futures. Mm-hmm. So what common concerns do you like to address? And it's funny because I am one of your clients as well. So what kind of things do you like to address with new clients? And I know this is probably hard to answer because everyone's situation's different, but what's that blanket level of advice that you like to give to new clients when they come in and talk to you about financial planning and their futures?
Yeah, there's so many different avenues you could take here. So it just depends on the client and the situation. If it is a client that's kind of trying to build wealth or build a path to retirement, it can center around budgeting.
Sure.
It can center around making sound educational decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be it tends to be a smaller part of my business. My business is mostly made up of retirees or near retirees.
Okay.
So in that aspect, when it comes to the market, it's really just being long-term focused and goal-driven.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can approach investing with that mindset, it takes a lot of the emotion and the stress out of it.
Sure.
Knowing that the market this is always my joke, it's the market always goes up. It's just a little bit bumpy. So it takes and knowing that we just had a big pullback on Monday. Right.
Sure.
And through that education, I, out of the 300 clients I have, 300 plus, I think, I may have gotten 1 phone call.
Sure.
And none of it was panic. It was just, "Hey, I see this happen. Can you just educate me into why?"
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing for when it comes to actual investing with hard monies is just to have that long-term focus. If you try and day trade and capture some of these swing trades, it could just lead to a lot of just unneeded stress.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're not going to recommend that I get into options trading on a day-to-day basis?
No, not that, options can be a great strategy. It just takes a ton of discipline.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of uncovered calls or uncovered puts.
Sure.
So buying a derivative with nothing to hedge it, as opposed to owning the underlying strategy itself or security. But we don't do that at Jones as of right now. We're very quality driven. we're risk adverse overall as a company.
Sure.
So for example, we don't buy penny stocks.
Sure.
We don't allow the ability to buy digital currency, which is
So no boiler room, no Wolf of Wall Street.
absolutely not. No, our it's kind of a frustration is the wrong word, but I'm going to use it just for lack of a better term. But when we all get together, sometimes we have to force that conversation. Just like, what are you guys buying? What are you getting out of, and why? Just
Sure.
so I can have those conversations with my clients. And sometimes somebody brings up something that maybe I'm not aware of, and it allows me to go down that path of just education and trying to figure out why this is an acceptable investment for some of my clients. But most of our conversations revolve around that buzzword holistic planning, right?
Okay.
So it's just tailoring the financial plan to the client itself and their goals. Everybody's different, but making sure that they're taken care of as a whole.
Sure.
So,
Sure. Yeah, because you're looking at the entire picture.
yeah, absolutely.
And that's where it differs in my business. I'm focused on the real tangible asset of buying and selling real estate, where you're looking, and that may be a portion of your plan is in people's assets as far as their homes, second homes, whatever that may be. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at the entire picture, which is very, very important.
Well, it's they're very similar, I believe. So like so a client might say, I want this house. It's a great deal.
Sure.
Well, yeah, it is a great deal, but it also needs a new roof as soon as you walk in there. It also, the hot water heater is 25 years old.
Sure.
The furnace works every other day. So you have all those things. So same thing, a client would come to me and say, I like investment ABC. ABC is a great investment. It's a great idea, but there are also these underlying factors that maybe we should try to buy something a little bit more quality.
Yeah, that's a great point. And looking at long-term longevity.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, cross market. No, that makes perfect sense. So in your experience, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and we could talk about this at length if we so chose, how has enhancing financial literacy within the community changed the way individuals and families will plan for their future? And let me preface this. I'm going to back up a little bit. One of my biggest complaints is that when I graduated high school, I graduated in the year 2000, so I've got a couple years on you, but they didn't talk about financial literacy.
10 years to be exact. 10
Okay,
years.
a decade. So be it. That's fine. That's fine. I am very old and I'm okay with that, as my distinguished gray beard showcases. Yes. Anyway, one of the problems I had is that when I got out of high school, there was no financial literacy. There was none. We barely understood how to write a check. And at that point in time, that was largely before debit cards, or they were just coming out at that time. So I was like, how in the world do I even write a check? I mean, what about a register? What about this? And that wasn't even a part of life that had anything to do with like investments, strategies, long-term planning, stuff like that. So that's my little soapbox. That's one of the things that frustrates me even today.
Yeah.
Talking to kids getting out of high school, I'm like, oh my God, you don't know anything about anything right now.
No, it's definitely a frustration. There's a lot of things that primary education is missing out on. Financial literacy is a big bucket, big part of that for sure. Another one would be like trades, skills trades is something that doesn't get talked enough about, but similar anyways. So financial literacy as a whole, it's frustrating because in my seat, my primary job is to educate and coach clients. The investment part at this point is pretty easy, right? It's a language that I understand, and I have key metrics that I'm looking for to be able to place clients in certain things. The hardest part is making sure a client understands why. So when I say it's frustrating, the amount of clients that I get that come over that maybe were with another financial advisor, and I would say the question I ask is, do you know why we own this? Or do you know why you own that? Or how come this is this way?
Sure.
And then just the lack of a general answer. And I'm not expecting a client to completely know the technical reasons of why we own something, but to watch a substantial portfolio be controlled primarily by 3 investments, that's not okay.
Sure. No diversity.
No, yeah, diversification is huge. portfolio allocation is huge, and make sure that it's staying in balance and staying informed is extremely important to the overall success of a long-term plan. So it's something I spend a lot of time on with my clients, and just making sure that they understand simple stuff like, what is a mutual fund? What is an ETF? Why is that different than a stock? Why do the price of a bond, why does the price of a bond go up when we cut rates, right? Simple stuff that I would probably argue 85 to 90% of the population can't even answer themselves.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, as far as the education of financial literacy with my clients, I think it goes back to the example I gave you earlier. Dow dropped 1,000 points on Monday,
1,033.
1,033 on Monday, and the one phone call I got.
Sure.
Right. They understand. They know why. It can still be confusing. That example is for the last, I don't know, 2 years. Bad news has been good news, because
Sure.
bad news in the economy means we're going to start cutting rates. And the benefit of cutting rates is really endless. I mean, if you're very familiar, right? There wasn't enough of you to sell enough houses in 2020.
The ZERP era was great for us.
Yes.
Yep.
And then we walk into now where interest rates are not 2.5 anymore. They can be 8.5 depending on the person. So as soon as you start cutting those rates, you have people buying homes, you have people buying cars. When you buy a house, you have to buy furniture for that house. You have to buy paint. You have to fix things up. So that trickle down effect in an economy, it spreads all over as soon as you start cutting rates. So the hope was, when we started seeing bad news, that this was going to force the Federal Reserve to have to start cutting rates sooner. And then they came out this August and all but confirmed that we were going to cut rates in September. And then I think that was Wednesday they did that. Friday we posted bad economy news. It wasn't terrible economy news. It was just not what we expected.
Right.
Coupled with the fact that Warren Buffett decided to sell half of his Apple stock.
Yeah. That was a lot.
Yeah.
That was big news.
So then he did that, which spooked everybody. So we were down Thursday, down Friday, and then we woke up. I think it was not so much woke up, but Sunday evening, the Japan markets just took a bath, right? And then so you walked in, and that leaked over into the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
So we went from very quickly, within a couple of days, that bad news was actually bad news.
Right.
And it just made everybody panic. So when I'm saying like clients calling in or clients have questions, sometimes it's that, just explaining, okay, this is why we're down in the short term. But again, we're still in line with our overall goal. We're still in proper allocation. We're still doing all the things we have to do to be able to get to point B.
Well, and I think that comes back to having somebody in your corner, the quote unquote corner, that is a subject matter expert. I was one of those people. I didn't use a real estate agent when I bought my house in 2005. And looking back in the way some of the things were negotiated, I thought I was doing great.
Yeah.
I thought I was the man. Yeah. And looking back on it, it's like, kind of screwed myself here.
Yeah.
Kind of screwed the pooch a little bit, but you live and learn. That's part of life. And as I've gotten older and I realized, yeah, you know what? I don't need to be the subject matter expert on everything as it relates to finance. I have you. So Kyle, here's my questions. Here's where I want to make these investments. How do I want to set up my 401k and my IRAs, and, where's my money markets at and stuff like that? I appreciate the education, but I'm going to rely on you to do the work for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You truly pay for the service you get. Now that's not everybody. Just like there's bad teachers and bad doctors and bad lawyers, there's bad real estate agents, there's bad financial advisors. So encourage anybody to really sit down and interview and see. I mean, the test there is just at the very face. Do you think you could trust this individual? Right. Do you think that they're going to act with integrity and in an ethical nature when it comes to your needs? And that's, I mentioned earlier, I'm a little bit younger. I'm 32. Four kids in the community.
Yeah, that's fine. 4
kids in the area. I live in the community. I plan on being here for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Sure. And that other than me being just a morally driven person adds to that level of, I don't know, ethicalness, if I can make up a word.
Sure.
Might be a
We'll
word.
we'll let it slide.
Yeah. That I just hold myself to, that I'm here for the long term. I'm going to make sure that the clients get served first and foremost.
Right.
So
It's service first.
yeah,
Service
absolutely.
first. If you want longevity in the market, you have to put your customers' needs before your own.
Yes, sir.
Yep, I absolutely agree. All right. So let's transition away from the finance part, because who knows? Some of our listeners might be sleeping right now because maybe finance doesn't interest them. But you've been significantly involved in lots of local basketball programs.
Yeah.
My son Aiden, your daughter Mila, they're in the same grade. We played against you at St. John's, coming up in those basketball programs. Can you share how your background has influenced your approach to managing and growing this sports initiative as well?
Yeah, I'd have to rewind quite a bit to be able to explain all that. But before I was a financial advisor, I was a strength and conditioning coach
Okay.
at a gym called First Class Athletics, and it's in the Kersley area.
Okay.
It's a gym my parents own, but at that gym, I was able to train the youth athlete to become the middle school athlete, to become the varsity athlete. I had several players play on TV at college,
Wow.
D1, D2 levels, and a handful of professional athletes. I've trained individuals, played overseas for basketball, played in the NBA, played in the NFL.
Wow.
So I have a ton of experience with coaching already. I did that. My joke is I was paid for it for 7 years, but I've been a strength and conditioning coach since I was about 14 when the gym was being operated out of my parents' house there. But so that has kind of carried forward. Actually, that experience in coaching and teaching is what made me such a successful financial advisor. And then, as I built that business and my kids became of age, I started watching them playing more sports and watching some of these coaches that are just volunteers, or just trying to help,
Of course.
do things differently than how I would do it. So it put me in a position to raise my hand. And we've just kind of hit the ground running. I forgot how much I miss coaching.
Really?
And so I just truly, truly enjoy it. What I love the most is development.
Sure.
I was just able to put a finger on that just a few months ago. Why I love financial advising, why I love being a business owner, why I love coaching, is to be able to take somebody from point A to point B and be able to kind of hold them accountable, coach them through that, teach them as we move, see things that we need to work on, and then get back to the lab and be able to work on that. So that's the driving factor. I just love that part of it. Just seeing all the work that you put in, and then it finally coming to an overall result.
Right.
Yeah.
So the journey, the process.
Absolutely.
From start, and there's not really ever a finish. I
Mhm.
mean, that's the beauty of it, is that you start the journey and then I'm going to help manage that journey
Yep.
along its path. No, I think that's fantastic. So what are some of the valuable lessons you've learned from the sports world, both as a trainer
Mhm.
and as a financial advisor, even though that's not the sports world, that have proven beneficial in both practices, on both the coaching side, training side, as well as the financial side?
Yeah, everybody learns, and everybody is motivated differently. So the benefit is the practice and meeting and talking with all different sorts of people. So just the complete array of the population.
Sure.
So having to teach and coach the older client that's spent several years in retirement, the client that's just entering retirement, the client that's just got their first job and opening their first Roth IRA, and again, the youth athlete to the middle school athlete to the high school athlete, and so on and so forth. So because both jobs are so there's so much teaching and communication that goes into it. That's the biggest thing that I've been able to take away from it, is just how to communicate with people in a way that they can fully understand it.
Sure.
And then everybody's different. You could have two retirees in the same situation with the same goal, completely different personalities.
Right.
So where one person likes to be taught very bluntly, like this is black and that is white and that is that, other clients.
That's me, by the way.
Yeah, right. I was thinking of you when I said it.
Yeah.
Then there's other clients where you have to sugarcoat things. You have to be more in depth with how you how you explain things, and that same thought gets applied to coaching and basketball as well.
Sure. Well, and one thing we haven't actually said yet on the podcast. So the program that you just started is called what?
BLRZ Basketball Program, so it's BLRZ.
Okay.
Yep.
I like
Mhm.
that. I like that. And then, so what goals do you have for the program as far as like long term? I mean, I know that you're kind of coaching some of your kids in the program as well. And as they age up, I'm sure that will continue to be a factor. But I
Yeah.
mean, what's your ultimate goal here in the community with that program?
So the goal was just to my daughter loves basketball, and like I mentioned before, I love coaching basketball. So the goal was just to give her an outlet to continue to play outside of just the school stuff.
Sure.
So we had kept a certain amount of girls. I think there was 9 or 10 of us girls together and continued to play and developed outside of the developmental leagues. We actually tried to sign up for another developmental league after winning our second championship there, and they told us no, which was a great thing. It was a compliment, if
Sure.
anything, which forced us into these tournament seasons
Hmm.
um, and playing more in different areas against newer teams and higher levels of talent,
Sure.
and continued to watch that growth as we went. And not only that, at a time where anxiety and depression is one of the main topics with children,
Hmm.
my girls deal with none of that.
Yeah.
And I believe a big part is they have this physical outlet that they get to go expend energy.
Hmm.
They get to do that several times a week. Um, I set out to coach my daughter in a basketball team, and these girls became. I inherited 9 other daughters, is what it was. These
Sure.
girls became sisters. They're a tight little knit family. They love
Mhm.
each other, um, and I just saw the benefit of doing that, as well as the asks from other parents of how do I become a part of the Ballers, or are
Mhm.
we going to do more of this? And it just was a natural, organic, hey, let's have another team. Let's have so my girls are now in 6th grade. Let's have a 5th grade team.
Sure.
And that was, there's enough people ready to go that we just, all right, come to practice. And then we still had that door knocking that was happening from other 6th graders that weren't on our team already. So it's like, well, I think we can create a second team and allow them to continue to develop. And that's been a big focus, as I mentioned, developing earlier.
Mhm.
I think you find with travel basketball teams, as long as you pay the price for admission, you get on a team. And it doesn't matter what level necessarily you're at. Now, of course, for like their A teams, their number one teams are going to have tryouts, but there can be overflow kids that didn't make that A team. And you still go to the same tournaments that these other teams go to.
Mhm.
And that can be great and it can be awful.
Okay.
I experienced the awful part, right?
Okay.
My daughter was a 4th grader that got moved to a 4th grade team that became excuse me, um, that became a 4th and 5th grade team, that became a 4th, 5th, and 6th grade team in the matter of just a couple weeks. And she happened to be the starting point guard on a 4th, 5th, and 6th grade team. And you have to play in tournaments with your oldest athlete.
Oh, wow.
So she was a starting point guard as a 4th grader in a 6th grade tournament, which is just disastrous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't.
Getting bodied all over the place.
Absolutely. So uh, it just, she wasn't ready for it. I realized in the moment, it's like there wasn't a lot of care in developing the girls. It was more of just like, all right, you can go play. You paid the price, go play.
We need to fill the slots.
Yeah.
Fill the slots.
Yep, that's what it was. And then we had so taking on these new teams, that's a big focus of ours. We walked through that entire developmental period. We
Mhm.
saw what that looked like. So we're really trying hard to put girls and boys, because eventually we'll grow to the boys teams.
Sure.
Put those girls and boys in positions to be successful
Mhm.
and still tested, and then let them graduate gradually over time,
Sure.
as opposed to just throwing you into the fire, throwing you in the water and hoping you can swim.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Well, and it seems like, and I know you guys had like a basketball camp
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago or a week ago. I can't remember the time.
Yeah.
My brain's all foggy because it's summertime.
Yeah. Uh, you know, I am beyond proud of these girls.
Mhm.
The amount of dedication that the 10 I have showed and drive has just it's been inspiring. And they're the reason why other girls want to play.
Yeah.
They're the reason why we had to take on other teams and help those parents and help those kids. They've just created enough noise in the area that I knew that this was feasible.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided to have a camp and was blown away with the response. So, I mean, we created a Facebook page once we decided that it was going to be a basketball program. And then from there, we went, I think, with like a 2-week lead time. We had 60 plus kids sign up for camp.
Wow.
It was just amazing. I mean, I was blown away.
That's amazing. Good for you guys.
My partner, Tom Dowdle, him and I had talked privately beforehand, and we were trying to figure out, okay, what's a win here? What are we going to be happy with?
Sure. Set a baseline.
Yep. And because I didn't want to just have our girls sign up, because then it's not a camp, it's just extra gym time, which would have been fine too.
Sure.
But really wanted to have the camp so we could generate enough money to be able to help with tournaments in the future, or just because that's the goal, is with the assets that we make, to be able to give back to the girls in some way.
Sure.
There's always going to be unexpected tournaments that pop up or unexpected expenses. Gym time is not cheap by any means.
Sure.
So just to get to a point where we can continue to play basketball. And so we set a win at 30.
Mm-hmm.
And to more than double that was just wild for us.
Oh, yeah. That's
weren't ready
amazing.
for it. Yeah.
Well, and I think, not to be too topical, but I mean, looking at Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and everything that's occurred with them having their rookie seasons in the WNBA and all of the limelight that's been shown upon them, in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I remember watching the UConn women's team, during March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
The UConn's women's team, they were just unstoppable for years and years and years. So, I mean, women's basketball, I love to see it taking more prevalence. And I love that you guys have set up a program for both boys and girls.
Yeah.
But initially with this focus on, young girls being able to participate in the sport, I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, there was a point with girls basketball where it was more lucrative to go play overseas than it was in the WNBA.
Sure.
And that has turned itself on its head.
Yes.
I don't know on average what the contracts would be. I don't think the contracts in the WNBA are substantial yet, but Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that Aja Wilson out in Las Vegas, leaving names off here, but they've been able to grab enough attention with their style of play and their just sheer dominance and leadership that they have, that it's gained more notice. You're seeing them on live television more, which is hardly ever a thing.
Hardly ever.
I think I can't remember but the WNBA All-Star weekend, so it was the All-Star team versus the Team USA. It gained, I mean, several millions of viewers.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's astounding is what it is.
Yep.
So now that there's an actual like goal for girls, right? For girls sports, really, if you wanted to be a professional and make a career in it, it was pretty much tennis, golf. I mean, softball is not a thing. Volleyball is not a thing. Professionally, anyways.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
To play after
soccer, maybe.
Yeah, right. And there was soccer's a good one. But there's, in that field, there really wasn't any of these stars either. Like we grew up watching Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. There was these idols we could try to emulate, be motivated and encouraged by. And now that they have that, there's great WNBA stars, but they weren't stars like we're seeing now. They weren't a Caitlin Clark and an Angel Reese.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I completely agree. No, I think that based on the successes that you've seen with the Ballers program up to this point, I'm looking forward to a very, very strong future that I'll have my kids absolutely involved in, because that's, these programs, they're great. The team building, the socialization, building that camaraderie with their peers and the competitiveness. There's nothing wrong with that. Being competitive is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, probably the most exciting thing we have coming with the program right now is we partner with a company called PGC, so Point Guard College.
Okay.
I talked about development. I think this is the third or fourth time, but that is such a key for me that I'm not just going to let girls learn to swim. We're going to teach them how to.
Sure.
PGC is a phenomenal basketball program that is just camps. It's just learning. It's built for players. It's built for coaches. I took my daughter to one. It was a week-long camp. It's from 9 to 4 every day. So what, 7 hours?
Mm-hmm.
So 7 hours all every day from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I was blown away. I've run a camp. I've been to camps. I understand a camp is just a camp. This was something different. This was very, very, very cool, the way that they were able to set it up. I mean, really just to break it down at the very beginning with really 1 or 2 fundamental moves, and then build on that move and that idea every day, all week, until you finally get to the final Friday, and turn it more into a competition. I mean, they just did a phenomenal job. We just had an agreement for them to come here. We were paying for them to fly out for 3 days. We're going to do that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So August 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Give you an idea, for Mila to go to the 5-day camp, it was $800 for her to go for the weekend.
Oh, wow.
We were going to be able to do this for 3 days for $150 a kid.
Oh, wow.
So it's $50 a day for, it's not just gym work either. It's gym work. And then we go into the classroom and we break down film on, here's what they did in this situation. This is why it was good, versus here's what we did in this situation. This is why it was bad. And then get back on the floor and continue to work on that idea. Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition. I don't know if you've been through the high school parking lot. It's an absolute mess. So, and the lack of gym space in Davison right now kind of forced us to not be able to have that. Looked like it was a go until last second. We were just not able to do it.
Okay.
So that is something that's coming in the future. And I encourage anybody who's really serious about basketball to sign up for that, because it truly is amazing.
And now what's the best way for them to kind of track what you're doing? Will it be on the Facebook page?
Yeah, good question. So, BLRZ Basketball is our Facebook page, and then BLRZBasketball.com is our website. I'd say Facebook is probably the best way to get current information.
Okay.
Right now, the website is built to just give honor and accolades to the girls, so pictures and stuff, so they can go there and see them and show families. And it's a way for girls to be able to pay for things more so than it's a payment system. So for whether it be gym time or camps or apparel or anything coming up. So if you want to be in tune with things that are moving forward and continuing to be scheduled out in advance, the Facebook page is probably the best way to go about now.
Okay, perfect. And what I'll do is in the show notes for this week's pod, I'll drop the links in there so people can check those out as well.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Well, anything else you want to hit on, or do you think we've hit the high points for this episode?
That's pretty much everything going on in my life, and it's a lot. So
for sure.
I don't think I can take on anymore. So we hit everything.
There you go. Perfect. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking the time today, my friend. Look forward to having you on again in the future, and congrats on the success with both your Edward Jones office and the BLRZ program.
Great. Thanks, man.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.